he didn't even know he wasn't supposed to be stealing the movies before the movie theater got him. That's what he say, y'all. But either way, they found him guilty. So now he has to do his time. And when he get out, I'm sure we'll welcome him back. He be done repented for all the things he's done, paid all his taxes, because guess what, y'all? They took all of it. I think he had about 60 some odd cars, all of them white. Yeah. A house, car, jewelry, all of it, y'all. Yeah, if y'all don't know Omie, go check him out. Omie and the Hellcat. Reloaded was his gear. He had sneakers, jackets, jogging suits, all of that. And we actually like it. I like the way it looks. So of course I got several reloaded, but y'all see what that is, right? That's ammunition right there. Reloaded. Y'all get it. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with y'all because I'm just shouting out for Omie. I don't know. I was just thinking about him today. But anyway, before we get started, let me go ahead and bring up our guest for tonight. He's not ready yet. So let me go ahead and say hello to a few people. Hello, Miss April. How are you doing? Mr. Gilbert SB, you have seen the video on the Hellcat Miata. What? Miata? What? Mr. Gilbert, stop playing with me. Hey, Miss Patty. Miss Patty said it was a beautiful car. Miss Patty, I love that Hellcat. Did you hear it whining? If y'all ain't never drove a Hellcat, I'm just advising y'all to go get one. I had a Hellcat Charger. It was black in color, had a little pink. I love the car, but I did have a fear of some young man making me get out my car when I didn't want to and taking it from me. So when they called me and said that we would buy your car back from you, I actually sold my car back to them and gave it. I was fine. I did. Yeah, I made money off the car in the short time that I had it. So I had a pleasure of driving. I took a nice picture. I'm gonna have to show y'all my picture one day. I took a very nice picture with the car. We enjoyed it. I think we only had like 9,000 miles on it. It was nice. It really was. I gotta tell y'all that. Successful MD. Hello. Okay. Dr. Steele, what's going on with you? Black man. Hey, either man. Hello. How y'all doing tonight? Is everybody good? Care to comment? Oh, I like that. I really do like that. Hello. How you doing? Oh my goodness. So anyway, guys, listen, Hotspot Casino say he has the answers. He already know what's up. JG, what's going on with you? I hope you're doing well. Driver's seat. I like that also. I really love these handles y'all have. This is so creative. Y'all be somewhere sitting thinking about this. So anyway, listen, y'all. I had to tell y'all about that. My guest is not quite ready yet, but this is what this is all about, reloaded. And I hate to say it, but Omie went to jail, prison, and hopefully he'll be getting out. So y'all know time go by real fast. I don't know if he went before COVID or after, but either way, he'll be getting out soon, hopefully. And he is a YouTuber, and I enjoyed him. So we had things in common as far as our cars, and that's why I'm wearing this jacket. So, he has some nice looking gear too. Hey, married, relentless, and satisfied. How you doing today? It's good to see you. Big pressure. What's going on? Back Lexicon. How are you? All right. So listen, y'all, welcome to the show. Real Nathan Daly.
What's up?
Hey, Nathan. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me again. I'm super excited about this conversation.
Oh my God, stop it. Hey, Mr. Brian, it's good to see you. I hope you had a good Christmas, and I'm hoping all of you have a happy new year. Listen, Nathan, did you hear what I was talking about my jacket? You know Omie, don't you? Because you
bless his heart.
I know. I used to love Omie.
He was cool. He was a cool character. I think I think what hurt, and unfortunately, you guys, I worked on the side of the law, and so I see how these things transpire. And I think what hurt me the most about that situation was he had to separate from his family.
Yep.
I think he made a massive financial empire, and ultimately the feds came for him, and they gave him a lot of time for the piracy, and they took everything.
The piracy,
I get
the
it.
Tax evasion.
Yeah.
They have his cars. They showed another YouTuber did them auctioning off his cars.
Yes.
He had so many cars. It was crazy.
Yeah, he had a lot, but the truth of the matter is, it just speaks to the whole thing where just do legit, you know?
Yep.
There's so many other legitimate things he could have done,
Yeah.
and he was warned, and it wasn't like he didn't know, and he was honest and very transparent. He's a very likable person just from his presence. But what touched me the most, he did one video where he was basically saying his goodbyes. And this is one thing I've experienced a lot with men and women who are in the process of being arrested and sentenced to prison or doing their time. Or I've talked to people who are doing their 5, 10 years, and the conversation I have with them is always about how much they miss their family and how much they regret what they did. But then they also acknowledge that they knew this was the risk. And it's a level of selfishness, you know, because in the moment, your greed and your ego to think that you're not going to be that 1%. Um, and the feds always get you. As soon as you hit a certain dollar amount, they're all about the dollars. As soon as you hit the dollar amount, they'll come for you. And a lot of people manage to skate under the radar. And it's not that the feds don't know. The way they look at it is it's not worth the
Right.
expense of going after you. Um,
Right.
that's how they measure it. So for those, that's a little game for y'all who out there.
Again, they say it's 5 million, y'all. They saying it's 5 million. I don't know, but they say it's
No.
5 million. I don't know. I don't even want to. I don't want to be that big.
Right.
I'm just saying. But in 10 million, you don't put 10,000. Anything over 10,000 goes in the bank. It automatically gets a little alert on it. So be careful, y'all.
Yeah, it's not worth it. You got to think too. They're paying these agents 100 to 200,000 a year. So you got to think it has to be worth the money. So they'll watch you, and a lot of times they'll keep tabs. They'll update. Okay, and they'll wait for when it's
Mhm.
beneficial for them to get you. So
Right. So listen, successful MD says greed has our community in shambles as it is. But guess what? I kind of feel like greed is what's gotten us to where we're talking about tonight. Also,
mm,
because it's always about the money for some, and they lose focus, and
yes,
that's what's happened. We've lost some of us have lost focus, and they're in these positions. They have these mega churches with thousands. I mean, they be having more people in their church than they have at football events sometime. Can you imagine how overwhelming that could be? And then people are just throwing money at you and just doing whatever you want them to do, and no one's ever telling you no. Or that accountability circle that we all are supposed to have, they're now missing.
right,
Or everybody's a yes person,
that part.
and that's where we are. So tonight we're talking about TD Jake's truth or accusations. But before we get there, we are going to talk about a couple. Big Ant, I know you didn't call me no snitch.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Big Ant, see, that's supposed to be between me and you. I was just talking to you about that. Now you done put it out here in the comment section. Really? Man, thank you for your $10. I'm gonna need more than that, Ant. I'm gonna need more than that because the Potter House is for real. But listen, let me mention something that I don't think anybody's mentioned thus far, but I know that you all probably know it. But Bishop T.D. Jakes, his Potter's House on Sunday, they actually premiere on P Diddy's channel, Revolt. That's actually one of his programming. You know, it is one of his programs from the Potter House. So I don't know if it's everything, but I do know, like on Sunday service, that is coming through Revolt. So they have a relationship. I just wanted everybody to know that, because I don't think. Well, at first I didn't. I couldn't put together why P Diddy and TD Jakes would have anything in common. But I learned that P Diddy is, the president of Revolt, right? The CEO of some part of Revolt. And the Potter House is actually shown on Revolt Station. So that is why they are there. Hey, Marcus, thank you for your $2 super chat. So that's why they are somewhat business partners or friends or what have you. So we know that. But before we get into that, let's talk about, you got something you want to share with us before we get started?
No, I think you mentioning the relationship with Revolt and the Potter's House, and I want people to be clear before we get started. All right, that we are, because we're both Christians. We're both Christians. Let people know that we are both Christians here. So we are in a position of scrutinizing and criticizing. And I think it's important for those who are believers to do that, to make sure we hold those in positions of representation accountable. And so we're going to be looking at the allegations, but we're not going to be we're not going to be putting out anything that's not already out there, and we're just really going to be looking over what's been said. Um, but I will urge people to be mindful, because folks love to jump to conclusions and they love to get real emotional when it comes to these things. Folks act like they've been saying this all along about TD Jakes, and I can't tell the way he's been moving and marching all through the media and the money he's been making in books he's been selling. So there have been a segment of people who've been questioning his leadership as it relates to his position as a bishop representing Christ, right? Representing the church, based on the types of sermons that he gives out, right? People call it the prosperity gospel. We know there's a few names that are like top names in this business, right? And people have spoken out against it. Now, the unique thing with the Diddy and TD Jakes, I never thought it was a big deal, simply because outside of Diddy's personal life and what he does, it's not uncommon for a pastor to have connections with celebrities, especially pastors of a big magnitude, right? I'm here in Atlanta. We had, this is a bad example, we had Eddie Long, right? But of course, his actions were questionable, prosperity preaching. But when you have Creflo Dollar and these other pastors, what's the one who's like, "This is my Bible," real country guy, and what's "This is my Bible,"
Is that
and
Duplantis?
Osteen.
Osteen?
Joel
Joel
Osteen.
Osteen?
Yeah,
Okay.
that brother there, he could force water to a well. Okay, so Joel Osteen has a church out there, and based on where you live at, you're going to have celebrities who live in that area are going to attend your church.
Right.
T.I. went to some churches here. I think he was going to, he goes to New Birth. We had other celebrities in Atlanta that went to New Birth when Eddie Long was here. So essentially what ends up happening, these guys become close to a lot of celebrities. It doesn't mean they're supposed to live like them, right? But we can't judge them simply because they interact with them, right? So when this whole thing was like, oh, Eddie Long, TD Jakes is at Diddy's party. It's a daytime party. Be different if it's nighttime. So, but there are some things that are going on. And we're gonna
Wait a minute. Hold on for a minute.
Go ahead.
It was a daytime party? I thought, well, let me be in agreement with you. I know that Bishop said that he did visit him on his 53rd birthday, but with no sex going on. He wasn't at the party. That was two totally things. Like one, the visit was during the day. Hello, could have been, in the yard or, but the party happened at night and he had no association with the party is what I heard him say.
Yes,
or what
correct.
I heard people say. Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure. Correct. Okay.
So what I'm saying is the pictures of people putting out with them taking pictures and they're at Diddy's event. That to me is not enough to say it's incriminating of anything. At the end of the day, if you have some proof of him doing something that's inappropriate or non-biblical, whatever we want to call it, sinful, you need to put that out before you put out all these allegations, and him going to a party or him going to Diddy's birthday is not an indictment. You know what I mean? And so I was just shocked to see how many people were trying to use that as a way to indict him and say that because he's taking pictures with Diddy, he had no business at Diddy's birthday. And I disagree with that, and it's not uncommon for pastors to, pastor celebrities, right? They're people too. They go through things too. And so now we are going to talk about the allegations, but I just want to put that out there that I didn't think that was right, how people were trying to make that comparison. So
I agree with that, but I got to tell you something. Even me being here, I'm a little YouTuber. I'm a married woman, been married a long time, but this is what I preach, y'all. I'm all in your face about it, how to be a wife, how to be a lady, how to be a woman. And I tell people all the time, you have to protect yourself, your marriage, and your husband.
That's true.
I protect myself, my marriage, and my husband. And Nathan, yourself, optics got to be a certain way or you are automatically guilty.
This
so optics, things have to look a certain way, or if they look another way, then people will definitely think that that's the way it is. So when I say things like, ladies, we have to protect ourselves with who we hang out with, where we go, what we do, all that stuff has to be something that we think about and we have to protect. I'm holding the bishops, the pastors, the heads of churches, the deacons, all of them to that same standard. I'm not saying that they can't do things, but way we move, if we want people to trust what we say, listen to what we say and follow it, we have to be an example at all times, all times. So, if this is an opportunity for Bishop to get it right, then he can actually do it again as far as optics. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm saying, we can't allow people to put us in these situations. Like right now, I can't be seen come out of a strip club or a paint and sip because I done talked about these neck and paint and sip so much that if somebody see me coming out of, they was just definitely thinking, well, they wouldn't hear me say, SB went in there and grabbed her daughter out of there. They would be thinking that SB was in there enjoying herself. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? they wouldn't believe my story of me going in there and get this young person out of there. They'd be like, no, SB, it was you now. So I'm just kidding. But anyway, we have to also protect ourselves with the optics because, like I said, we can't be, we used to, the business that we're in on the side of the law that you're on anyway. We used to have to secure ABC stores.
Okay. Liquor stores?
Yes. But so where we are, there, our ABC stores, our liquor stores are very, very nice. I mean, like upscale, all of them. And it's kind of because it's a county, they're run by the county. So anyway, we would be in there, we working. We might have our uniforms on, me and Mr. Boss or whatever, or me and my officers. I come in, check on them or whatever, and I would see a church member. First thing they say, I was getting this for somebody else. I'm like, oh, it's okay.
Okay, right.
It's not illegal. It's okay. It's not illegal. So that's what I mean. Just that little bit of just seeing somebody gives you that type of conviction. I'm like, no, it's okay. It's not illegal. So that's what I mean by we have to protect ourselves. If, like I said, I'm just a small YouTuber. You get too large, they are looking for something,
True. So. Now I'll say this though, and I think this is where I have an issue with the Christianese, right? Like this cult-like, cult-like structure as it relates to religion, as it relates to being Christian. That's all I can speak on because that's all I've seen. And so you can't say that as a Christian, you're supposed to be an agent for Christ. And your job and your responsibility is to help bring people to the Lord's kingdom. You have to sometimes go in places that aren't churchy as it looks, right? And again, and this is where things get a little complex. I remember my pastor talking about this because one of our head pastor of the praise and worship team, he was seen performing at a club, and he was performing one of his hit songs at a club. And someone, just like how you described, someone from the church saw him there and was like, "Hey, why is he at this location? This is where people drink, and this is where people do all kind of crazy things or whatever." But the pastor said, "Well, we are representatives no matter where we are at any point in time. And bringing people to Christ doesn't just happen in the church.
Correct.
And you can't be afraid to go in places where sinners are and use it as an opportunity to speak life into people." Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be at the strip club talking about some,
yeah.
So let me talk to you real quick while you're clapping the cheeks. You need to clap to the Lord, right? Like,
it might be a hard sell.
It's a hard sell.
No, I get it.
Works in mysterious ways, and He uses people in mysterious ways. And sometimes we also have to remember that even sinners are used for the goodness of God's kingdom. And so I think sometimes what tends to happen is we don't know. Could it be? Is it possible that sometimes you have pastors that are in certain areas? And granted, I agree 100% that optics matters. And I think TD didn't do a good job explaining the optics, and instead, when you run from an opportunity to actually be truthful or to maybe explain or bring context, and you double down on trying to defend, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. And so I think this is his marketing behind this relationship with Diddy is making him look more guilty, right? And so I just say that to say that as Christians, we're not supposed to necessarily run from sinners, right? Um, if our intentions are not to actually bring them closer to God, and we're there participating in their sin, that's two totally different things. Is that's all I'm saying as far as putting that out there. But to your point, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, you got to be, listen, if we're going in there to save someone, then we actually come out with a testimony, and we'll be willing to
Right.
tell it and scream it out to the top of our lungs about what
Correct.
happened, that particular night. So
Correct.
again, I was just kidding, but you kind of get what I'm saying.
No, for sure. Well, we know he wasn't baptizing people at Diddy's party. It
Yeah,
wasn't.
I
It
don't even
wasn't.
think he was. I don't even think he was at Diddy's party, but we done put him there. But I don't even think he was there. But before we get into it, let me also say this. Like you said, there are some people that are very, very radical and just say
Right.
crazy things. We're having a conversation. Once we get to a good end of our conversation, or have plenty questions, or if you all have plenty questions, then Mr. Boss is gonna drop the link and allow y'all to come up and ask these questions. But before we get in there, y'all, we just having conversations. So y'all join in with us. Of course, you can join in with us. You give a super chat, I'll read your question. If not, we have to hold on until the end of the show, and then we'll actually put the link out so you can come up. But before we get started, I want to share a couple of other things with you all, because I don't know if y'all know it. Did you hear, Nathan, about Kevin Hart? He is suing Miss YouTuber Tasha K. Tasha K ain't caring what nobody think about her. She's just putting it all out there. So he's suing her for extortion. Well, apparently she got some information on him about him cheating on his wife, and she said, "If you give me 250,000, I'll make it all go away." I say, tell it, just makes him stronger. tell her. Whatever he need to go tell his wife, whatever's going on. Please don't allow somebody to extort you for money. This is ridiculous to me. I hate the fact, but if he needs to sue her, then he needs to go ahead and do that, because this is terrible. That he cheated on his wife, because he shouldn't be doing that. I thought we learned a lesson, but who knows what goes on. And two, the fact that she can try to extort him for $250,000. That's crazy.
And that's a crime, by the way, for those who don't know that. You can't, that's against the law, right? You can't do that to people. The FBI will get involved in a heartbeat, right? Heartbeat, Kevin Hart. So here's the thing with that situation. When you work for these celebrities, you guys, they make you sign paperwork. Hell, if you work for just a regular job, you sign paperwork saying that you're not going to give up any secrets.
Right.
So now at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because if the person does it, they risk being sued. But if you don't have nothing anyways, it don't really matter. That's why he's going after Tasha K and not really going after this chick. He knows this chick ain't got no money. This is I think it was his assistant, his private assistant or whatever. So yeah, new non-disclosure. Thank you, man. Yeah, so you signed this non-disclosure agreement that you're not going to disclose. People disclose stuff all the time. That's how this stuff gets leaked. I know people who've lost their jobs, nurses, doctors, violating HIPAA, right? Because when that whole thing happened with Kevin Samuels, people lost their job behind that, because they were leaking where he was at and telling business and, telling what he was there for. When celebrities, Jamie Foxx, that situation, you have people leaking police information, police reports. It happens all the time. But when they trace it and they find it, it's a problem. So Tasha K is bold. But Kevin Hart, what's interesting about him, this brother doesn't play. I'm gonna be honest with you. When that incident happened, when he was messing with them two, it was them two white girls he was having a threesome with, I believe. They were secretly recording him. And what ended up happening after they recorded him, say, "Hey, listen, if you don't give us a couple, what was it, I think like $20 million, we're gonna leak this video." And you know what he did? Kevin went and he told on himself and was like, "I refuse to be blackmailed. You're not gonna extort me."
Right.
Hold on, and exposed himself. And I thought that was gangster,
Yep.
But to me, it shows that he's not someone that you're gonna be able to financially bully. So that means whatever secrets you think you have on him, he's not gonna roll over that easy. So he played his cards the way he played it. I was shocked when he did that, and he just was like, "Well, I'm sorry, I apologize. Talked to my wife about it. We're gonna work through it, and we're moving on." I was like, damn.
Well, I mean, it's his wife. She's probably gonna add the costs, the cons and she's gonna add it up. She ain't gonna just run out on it. She's gonna say, listen, I'm gonna stick it out with my husband. Now I don't know how many opportunities she gonna give him, but this may be it. It may only require one, because now he understands what it's all about. This is what people are trying to do. They're trying to take him out and get his money,
Right.
and ruin his life or his family in the process. They don't care. So maybe he'll never end up here again, but definitely he needs to sue her if she is actually trying to, extort him for money. $250,000. That's terrible.
And my question is, and the thing is, he's already shown that he's not going to give in to the financial demands.
Right.
He seemed like the type that if his kids got snatched, he's not giving up the money. He's like, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Kevin Hart has a policy that he does not negotiate with terrorists. And right now, his ex-assistant, and Tasha K are financial terrorists. And he's like, I don't care what you bring to the table. I'm not giving you nothing. And so I don't see this going the way Tasha K thinks it's going to go,
right,
or his ex-assistant is going to go. He's already proven that he's not going to barter with anybody when it comes to money. So she wants to expose stuff. I don't know why. At this point, a lot of stars are falling. I think this year, going into 2024 and 2025, we're going to see a lot. This year has been a year of people being exposed. You see the stuff happening with old dude from Fast and the Furious, and everybody's having these accusations come out. Listen, I just got my popcorn out. I'm like, let's do it.
Ready. Yeah, because it's gonna, a lot of it. We're gonna see some interesting things happen in 2024. Maybe to give us some content. What you think?
Oh, absolutely.
We're gonna be listen, I'm always reluctant to talk about people's personal business when it comes out as accusations. I try to wait until I get some receipts before I start, saying something about it. I give people the benefit of the doubt. But I did say about TD Jakes on Tuesday, listen, y'all, just because these type of allegations are coming out, it does not give you a reason or an excuse to not have a relationship with Christ. You still need to develop your own relationship with God, your creator. Definitely, Jesus is your savior. You still need to have that despite what people in the church are doing. Remember, the church is for the broken. So don't allow this to be, God, he couldn't keep TD Jakes from doing this because we don't know if TD Jakes did this yet or anything. So don't allow this to keep you from having your spiritual relationship with God. Don't do it.
Yeah. I remember my mom telling me that same thing when I was younger, because as the church we went to, I remember they were going through some things. And she would always say that you're not in church for the pastor.
Right.
You're in church to hear the word. But if the word is coming from a broken mouth, a broken spirit, why? Right? Why should I? And let the congregation say,
Yeah.
So my thing is, I agree and I disagree with that. I agree with the point that we're in church to learn, right? At the same time, if the teacher is broken, if the teacher is flawed, the teacher needs to remove himself or herself.
Absolutely.
And I hate the excuse that I hear some Christians give these pastors and these bishops that, oh, he's a man too. I don't care. If you put yourself in a leadership position, this is how I look even in law enforcement. If you decide to take up that role, that mantle, whether parents, marriage, husband, wife, you decide to take up that role, you need to honor and be true to that role, period. And I don't believe in any excuses when it comes to that. And so I've arrested plenty of deacons, ministers, ministries, pastors. I've locked them all up, for all kind of different reasons, domestics, sexual abuse, the whole 9 yards. And to me, it's so disrespectful, and if you weren't strong enough and had the willpower and the ability to maintain what's required of you of that title, then just don't do the job. That's how, just don't do the job.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
I agree with you. Or either at some important time, you have to be sincere with yourself, because it makes you question everything, because,
right.
We can all fall off, like you said, there's a part of them that he's a man, he can definitely fall off. But at that point in time is when he needs to excuse himself. But then this is where the greed come in. You know, how many are walking away from, you know, however many people in the congregation, or how many, you know, how much money am I making? Who's walking away from that? You know, that's the greed part that's making you stay in that position and fake the funk from that point on. And that's like I said, that's where we are. That's where we started the show, I think.
Right.
Because, you know, we know they know exactly what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
They know. So it's not like, oh, I accidentally. No, you know exactly what you were doing, and you knew what the calling was for your life. So this road that we are walking is very, very narrow. It's not a lot of space or a place for a whole lot of mess ups. We can't do that. Or if we can, and we're in a position where we're teaching or being examples for others, you know, our fruit is not looking very well. So we do have to step off. We can't play these games. You cannot.
No.
You hold to a higher standard.
Yes.
You can't.
Yes.
So, you know.
Yes. That's the key. And someone said, Nathan, have you ever slipped up? I just slipped up yesterday. I slip up all the time. But at the same time, I'm not self-appointing myself into a position of leadership to where I have people following as I'm teaching. Like, that's the difference. The difference is there's levels to this game. And when you put yourself in a position, right, you self-appoint yourself to be a bishop, and you say that you're going to lead people, you're the pastor, and you're going to do this, and you're teaching people things. Now, see, if I was a pastor, I'd be the type of pastor to tell you I slipped last week. I'd be the type of pastor to be very transparent with the things that I struggle with. And I say, hey, guys, I'm struggling with this alcohol this week. You know, pray for me. Hey, you guys, I'm doing this. But see, that's not what's happening with these pastors, with these religious leaders. They're walking around as if they're the closest thing to God. And then they're judging you, and then making it seem like you are wrong, and that you can't be without flaw, and that you can't struggle in your walk. So that's the issue that a lot of people have. And we even see it on YouTube, right? You see these people come on these platforms and they pretend to be perfect. And then someone catches them twerking drunk. Someone catches them, you know, saying they don't like, you know, it's all pro-black. And then you find out they married a white person. And, you know, and then people come out, they come after you because you don't, your life, the way you act in real life doesn't match the persona that you've created and the persona that you're giving the people. And that is the issue. The issue is the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
No one would be mad at these guys and gals if they were very honest about who they are in real life. The problem is they try to hide that and sell you a dream while you're living a nightmare. And then you find out that they're also living a nightmare, then they're going to hold you accountable. And that's what this is all about. That if you are doing XYZ, just be honest. You can still give advice. You can still lead. You can still speak from your heart and let people know that you're not perfect. But when you walk that walk, and I'm telling you, man, that's what this whole thing comes down to, is the hypocrisy. And that's what everybody always points out.
I mean, you're right about that. And have seen a pastor get up in front of his congregation. He removed himself, but he did come back and give his testimony. And in that testimony, he did say he did sleep with boys and men, and he had some alternative, you know, relationships. He actually got up in there and said it. They had no choice but to accept it. But the look on their faces was, you know, and that's why men or women don't do it, is because the shame of it all. Same. But you have to do that if you are in a relationship with God and he's convicting you for those things that you've done. Now, hear what I'm saying. If you are actually in a relationship with God, I didn't say, you know, the scripture. I said, if you are in a relationship and he's convicting you, those are some of the things that you will do. You know, you have to tell somebody, because you will be sickened with the grief of how much you've messed up or how, you know, oh God, let's just get into this thing. Let's see. We're ready to move on. We're ready to move on. All right. So listen, we're going to play this video. This video was by, y'all may know him. I don't know if he calls himself Pastor Larry Reed or not, but Larry Reed, y'all may know, he's a YouTuber, and Larry Reed was on what's it called? Family Business, another one of these TV show where they was doing church business, and it was found there too. But Larry Reed had a part in that too. So he is like a person that like knows everything that goes on with the church and other places too. But let's just play this video and just hear what he has to say.
There is proof of how he was communicating with him. What he's saying is he was not physically violated. However, everything else he discussed in this video, he experienced it at the hands of Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he told me it was Bishop T.D. Jakes. This is not the only situation or the only person that has a testimony or story like this. Some others, it did get physical. But for Manasseh, it was grooming. And the grooming was excessive, manipulative, and he did confront Bishop Jakes about it.
All right, so listen. Okay, y'all hear that? So in other words, the young man that was on top, his name was Manasseh. Manasseh says that he was groomed by Bishop T.D. Jakes. There was no physical touching, but there was some grooming going on. Now, Nathan, I want you to explain the grooming because you have seen this before with another pastor. You don't have to call names, but you can if you like. But you,
nice.
you calling names? Oh Lord, did I pray before I got started? Jesus. Okay, he's calling names, y'all. So go ahead and tell us about the grooming so we can understand just a bit more what Manasseh is actually saying.
Yeah. So what's funny is Manasseh, I actually just saw the video that Manasseh did maybe 2 days ago. I didn't even know that that's what this was called, grooming, but it reminds me of a case that I assisted on, and we're going to talk about that. So Manasseh is talking about how this is a known thing that goes on in a lot of churches, a lot of mega churches. And the grooming is exactly what it sounds like, prepping. But the grooming comes more so with with sexual connotations behind it, with nefarious connotations behind it. The grooming is when you have a person in a leadership position, a person who is looked at as a father or a mother figure. We've had female pastors do it. We've had obviously male pastors do it. And what it is it's a form of manipulation that's used to an unexpected mind or an impressionable mind where the adult or the person in power, the authoritative figure, uses a lot of suggestions, a lot of mental maneuvering in order to get the person to start having a inappropriate relationship or establish inappropriate feelings for that adult person, right? Or that person in leadership position. And so what Manasseh was talking about, how this is like a trend, something that happens behind the scenes where a prominent authoritative figure within the church will find a young impressionable person, very young boys, girls, and bring them close under their wing and make it seem as if this is a way for them to become better within the faith or become better within the church, to have a special position right next to the leader, so that they can be groomed into becoming a replacement. But yet, what the actual authoritative figure is doing is exploiting their ignorance, exploiting their naivety for their own sexual purposes. And so that's what Manasseh was talking about. So years ago, back when I was working for the cab in the police department, we had an incident that happened where Eddie Long's at Eddie Long's church. He was a very strong, prominent figure within the community, and even within the police department. He had a lot of influence politically within the county, and we all knew that. There was a day where his church was broken into, his office was broken into as we started investigating, and this is before any of these allegations and things came out about him. We didn't understand why, so we treated it as a burglary. And at that time, when I was working there, I was part of a burglary task force, and so this is something that we handled. But when we realized it was his office, we were concerned about what was taken out of his office. Later found out that it was one of the teens that he was grooming, you guys. That teenager stole one of his tablets, his iPad, And he was doing so to try to gather information to expose him. And that's when all the things started to come out with him, right? And what happened during that investigation, what we learned was that he had been taking a group of boys with him, traveling all different places and bringing him close, acting as a father figure, exactly what Manessa was talking about. And when you're doing that, these young, impressionable boys, but not just the boys, the mothers, you guys, that's another thing, right? They're not just finessing the kids, they're finessing the parents. And some of these parents are so delusional when it comes to these church leaders that they hand them to these pedophiles. They hand them to these pedophiles, you guys. And I've seen it time and time after time. And what's scary about it is you have these Pinocchio preachers who are able to hide their perversion behind the gospel, right? Hide their perversion behind, I'm a religious leader and let me take your child under my wing so I can sculpt them and mold them. Because what happens to a lot of these mothers, and a lot of these mothers were single mothers, and I'm just not shaming them, but saying that they were looking for a father figure in the pastor. And so when they are giving their child away to the pastor, trusting that he is going to take them and build them into men. And what these predators were doing were actually taking their innocence away, manipulating them and turning them into monsters, right?
Hold on for a minute. Hold on one second, Nathan. I want to add something because there is someone in the comment section. I think it's Biwana is the correct pronunciation for her name or his name. I'm not really sure. But he says grooming is a very curious word. Did Bishop Jakes meet the legal, psychological, or even social definition of grooming? Let me just say this now because I don't want anybody to misunderstand this. We have not said that Pastor Bishop T.D. Jakes was guilty of anything.
Correct.
The young man has come out and said that pastor has done this to him. We don't have any evidence of that. Actually, Mr. Larry Reed said he has receipts of that. We don't. This is why we would use the example of Bishop Eddie Long, which we do know this happened to because the real Nathan Daly was actually on the case. He was the police officer that showed up for the break-in, and this is when it all began to unfold. So as of right now, we're just bringing to you what these individuals have said. We have not said anything or made anyone guilty, but what we do know is that some other people at another given time used the word grooming, and there was a burglary attached where Nathan Daly was actually there present, and he knows what he knows because he actually worked the case. So let's try to keep these things separate, but we're not saying anything about anybody. We're just using the words that these people are using against these other people. We're not adding to it. That was a word that was used. And I wanted Nathan to give us more clarity on what that meant and give us an example on how it could be done. And that's exactly what he's done. So Biwana, gosh, she went away that quick. But anyway, I hope you understand what we're saying. We're not condemning anyone. We're just relaying information that we've heard and just getting some clarity on that. Again, he also said, the young man also said that there was no physical touching, none at all.
Right.
And at this point, we don't know about any physical touching. But I must tell you, Larry Reed also said that he has receipts, and there are others that are willing to or have already confessed to him that there was physical touching. We haven't even gotten that far because we haven't heard anything about that. Nathan, have you heard anything about that? Nope, we haven't. So we're not even going there. We're just bringing the scope of things in a little closer so we can actually get an idea of what these people are talking about. Because understand this, I used to go to concerts, or I used to see people at concerts like Michael Jackson per se. And I never understood why Michael could be up there singing, or other famous people would be up there singing, and you would have women just falling out, tears, crying, just overcome with emotions about these people that they were seeing. I never understood that. But as I'm getting older, I now get it that these people have such an influence on, these younger lives, or like you says, these younger people who minds can be the informative years. They're working on their brains, and they just love and everything about these people that they would just, I guess they're feeling the person. So then guess what? Michael could have had everybody in the room doing what he wanted them to do because they loved him so much. I couldn't understand it, but we all know that happens. So, for me to think, gosh, a pastor, okay. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to think like that, but if a young person, man or woman, would desire to be that close to God, and they thought that having a relationship with their pastor, who is a very smart man or woman or what have you, and this would be a way that they could learn it, because it is, y'all, I don't know if y'all know it or not, but learning the word of God and walking this walk is kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's kind of overwhelming. We're challenged every day with all types of temptation. We're challenged even within the faith. Did you read today? Did you pray today? How long did you pray? Did you pray without ceasing? How many scriptures do you know? If you don't know what that scripture is, you shouldn't be using it. Just all this kind of crazy stuff. And you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Right. I have a relationship with God. That's who's using me right now. Right. But I have to say that though. You know what I mean? I have to say that. So, I mean, I just say all that to just try to get a better idea, because it's just like you said, the mothers and the fathers are handing the children over.
Yes.
So they too are
complicit. They're complicit.
And they believe in the influence. They believe in the influence also. It's also something that they're holding on to themselves. They actually feel like this is a way that I can be closer to God because I didn't see that. They may not have that revelation yet where it says, if you continue to seek him yourself, he will reveal himself to you. They don't know that. So they continue to go to church every Sunday and be like listening to everything he's saying. But they're not getting it for themselves because some of them are afraid. I don't know. I don't know what that answer is.
And listen, security boss, the problem is? The biggest problem with Christians that I've seen is we're very selective when it comes to the scripture. Right. Very selective.
Okay.
Very selective. And what's funny is it says you judge people by the fruits of their labor.
Yeah.
And when the fruit look a little spoiled, I mean, it is what it is. And what I've seen is this failure to acknowledge when your pastor is a little fruity. Okay. When the fruit's a little fruity, you don't want to
Oh my God.
I really love it.
He's got a fruit. Oh my God.
But all jokes aside, I think we see the acts that they do. And a lot of things they do are pure blasphemous in nature. You got a pastor, and this is why I call them Pinocchio preachers. You have a pastor who will take the spit from his mouth and rub it on your face and tell you how Jesus made the blind man see with his saliva, right? You have another pastor that'll swing from a rope through the ceiling to you got pastors, Eddie Long, coming in, being walked down on the throne, right? So you have these theatrics that take place in these churches. You got pastors selling holy water. You got pastors selling blood to the people. I watched the pastor sell water to people and say it was holy water, and you got pastors taking their coats and smacking people in the face and they're catching the Holy Spirit. You got pastors who you got actors putting their hands on bishops and making them catch the Holy Spirit. I mean,
well, listen, some of those things are Bible. But listen, you also have a congregation. Well, this is what happens when the world and the church actually mix, because you got
right.
people in the world telling you that the Bible needs to be updated. What is that?
Right.
What is that? No. The Bible don't need to be updated. You need to conform. But
yes.
But if you don't conform, I'm not going to listen to you. So then there's going to be a massive fall away from the church, which some people think is going to hurt you, but actually it's helping you because you really didn't need that type of spirit within the church anyway, but they don't see it as that. They see it as some money just walked out the door. Or my numbers just went down. Or, I'm making them very uncomfortable with what I'm saying. you know, and it's very hard to find a pastor that goes straight Bible.
Right.
It's very hard because, you know, Jesus came, he was our savior. So it's very hard. You know, some of them just throw away the Old Testament. So it's just a lot. It's just a lot. You have to definitely have a relationship with God and align yourself with him so he can actually lead you. And church is for fellowship. It actually is. But most people in church, if not all people in church, are broken. That's where you should go. But it is for fellowship. And I'm not saying it's not necessary, but you definitely need to have a relationship. But I think you too should be questioning some of the things that you see in the pulpit, you know. And you know, it's been some questionable things that have gone on that I've seen.
You saw the spit one. You saw the spit one. Did you see that?
Well, you know, that's kind of like in the Bible a little bit, though, you know, because see, that's what makes it so hard, because who was doing it? You know, it wasn't Jesus that was doing it. So
the brother took his real spit and put it on the man's face.
Because all your fluids within your body are important. You know, it's not like, oh, Nathan, we're going down a different road. I ain't ready for this today. I'm not ready. Nathan, I'm not ready. You know,
I know. The brother was doing too much. You know, we gotta get back to see the problem with the church now, and a lot of these guys, they're entertainers, right? And this thing, especially, you see it a lot. I won't even say you see it, I'd say you see it in Christian church, period. I've seen white pastors and Hispanic I've seen them all do it, where they now feel like they have to put on a show for you to listen to the word. You know, the word ain't always fun. It ain't always cute, you know, and God just, he ain't all that funny sometimes, you know.
Yeah, we've gotten totally away from the wrath of God. He's all love now. That's what we think.
All love.
Yeah, but guess what?
Reason, God wants to meet you where you're at. You're supposed to meet God where he is.
But guess what though? Guess what? Now we have Exposure 2024 coming.
Ooh.
So how about that? You know. So we'll see about the wrath and how loving he is. It's a thin road. It's narrow. We can't do any and everything. And he definitely tells you he's God, the savior. He is. But he tells us to repent and sin no more. But it's not a life that we're supposed to lead, of a sinful life. We gotta fix it. Now, I'm not saying now once I fix this one sin, it don't mean that I'm fixed. I still may have some others I got to fix, but I can't keep going back to that original one.
Yeah, you gotta do the work.
I gotta win sometime, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta win sometime. So I'm ready for us to win, but there is so much against the word of God, that type of life, that I can easily see how they fall off, easily see how people are confused. And then, you know, ultimately we have free will to do it what we want.
Right.
And there you go. So who's going to choose that narrow road when they can pretty much do what they want? And like I said, it's going to be justified, because if there are pastors that are participating in same things that everybody else is participating, so why should I change? You know, that's the excuse. Yeah.
Listen, the devil's in the details, and the devil knows that there's too many people worshiping money. You know, too many people worshiping money, and it's so easy to win these preachers over when you throw some dollars at them. And that's ultimately what we see. That's kind of what you were touching on earlier.
Yeah, I want you to go back too, because you said something about judging of the fruit. See, that's very important, because what fruit are you looking at? What actually looks good?
Right. Yes.
You know, is it the fact that the church has bought me an airplane? I drive a Rolls Royce. I have a estate or whatever. Is that the fruit you're looking for? Or should the fruit be the way that I treat my husband, the way my family is, my legacy, how that looks, how humble of a man that I am, a woman that I am? You know, what fruit are you looking for? You know, because guess what? Some would say, Pastor, it's okay for you to definitely be there for these people. Actually, you have to be there for these people. But there's a line. There's a line.
Yeah.
You know, and it ain't thin either. I was going to say it's a thin line, but it's not. It's a line that we cannot cross, because, you know, the Bible actually tells you to separate yourself. But as a pastor in that role, I understand that they can't. But you actually supposed to separate yourself. Once you feel with this Holy Spirit, it changes your desires. It
Yes.
changes your desires.
Yep.
And if your desires are not changed, then I am definitely questioning what spirit are you filled with. So there you go. I don't know. Did we have more of that video to listen to? So, okay. So listen, Mr. Boss is actually putting out the link, but you've already said, and I want to go back to that because I interrupted you. I wanted to interrupt you, not intentionally, but I did need to tell that person, Bawana, that this is not particularly about TD Jakes, but it is. We're just making people aware of what happens. Because if you have asked me, did I know about grooming that goes on in the church between a male pastor or a female pastor and youths, I would have told you absolutely not. I don't know nothing about it. How can I couldn't even let somebody get to my child. So who gives over their child and what's the circumstances behind it? So I want to ask you, is there a age per se to this? I mean, that young man, what Banasha? Is that his name? Vanessa. How what is this age range to this grooming typically?
I don't remember. He mentioned young boys. And so I'm thinking it could happen at any age. You know, it can happen at any age. And so, you know, a predator is a predator when they see prey. And the grooming is something that it's like a long con. It's a long game. And the grooming starts, and I think he described it perfectly, because the same thing that the victims of Eddie Long stated, and I didn't even know this was a thing. Now we all knew that these things happen in the church, but I didn't know it was of grooming, right? I just thought it was just more of a pedophilia type of situation. But this is like what he's saying is this is like a practice, right? Like this is a practice, a very consistent practice. And when he said that, it just brought me back to the Eddie Long situation, because what the victims were saying was that how he did it was he started giving gifts, right? He started saying, hey, I'm your spiritual father. You know, come sit on my lap. It starts with a lap, right? And then it starts with a hug. Then it starts with kisses on the cheek. And what happens is this type of manipulation starts to evolve, right? The touching becomes more intrusive, right? It becomes then more sensual. It becomes more violating. And so, but this is a process that builds over time, you know. And what these type of people do, we see this with just pedophiles, just in general, is they'll start with things that are socially acceptable, right? For example, say they're at a sports game and you got the little boy, he shoots the basket. You're like, oh, good job, and you pat him on the butt. Well, we know that's something that what they do in sports as like that's kind of like a thing that they do. We know that's socially acceptable. And so what happens is they start doing little things like that to bring in comfort, to kind of close in that gap. But then when they're around, when no one's around, they start making suggestive statements like, oh, you know, you could have hugged me a little longer, you know, things like that. And next thing you know, they secretly, psychologically start to manipulate the young child all the way up into adulthood, and to the point where they cross those boundaries. And next thing you know, even the child doesn't realize that they've given so much of their innocence away slowly. It's a slow, methodical, sick process that they do. And so he was explaining that very, very well on his channel, Manessa. He was explaining it well, but these victims of Eddie Long also explained the exact same thing. He would take us on these trips on his jet, lavish trips that the parents let them go on, and the parents aren't chaperoning, right? They're all sleeping in the same hotel room. You know, oh, you can share the bed with your pastor father, right? And you're using these terminologies that only a trusted person would use: father, leader, you know, the bishop, you know. And so those things makes it feel like it's okay. And not only that, mommy says it's okay to be here. So mommy knows where I'm at. Mommy knows what goes on. Mommy's comfortable with this. And so then what also ends up happening is now the problem is When they become out of age and they no longer need them, they pick up a new kid and that kid is discarded. Well, then that kid now is scarred here. And what that kid starts to see is that I'm no longer valuable to you, right? I used to be the kid sitting on your lap. I was a kid getting these Jordans that you were buying me. This is what the victims were saying. I was a kid going on these trips. You were feeding me, and I felt special because when I was around you, everybody loved me. And now that you've discarded me, I'm not getting attention anymore. And these kids end up now taking matters in their own hands and decided to speak out against what was done.
So listen. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, but ultimately, what ended up happening? That's what that's what led that's what inspired them to go and seek justice. Right? It came from a place of almost, you could say, an unhealthy jealousy in a sense. I'm now seeing some other kid having these benefits that I lost, and now I want some type of retribution. That's how it kind of all unfolded. But the crazy thing about that entire case was the reason why Eddie Long wasn't charged criminally was because when he did engage physically with them, they were of age.
Of age, right?
They were of age, and so though we could talk about how morally and ethically what was wrong, but legally he didn't commit any crimes.
Right.
And then money was given here and there, and then here we are.
I want to ask a quick question about that, but I also want to welcome JG to the show. But before we get into that, I want to read the super chats. Hey, Dre, hope you're doing well. He said exactly 100 to much is given, much is required. And that was way back when we was talking about pastors. I'm sorry, Dre, but I was definitely going to read it. Clement Gray, how you doing today? Thank you so much for your $5 super chat. Why are y'all surprised? I knew Jakes was fake when he let Taylor Perry lay hands on him, and when he ordained his daughter to be over men, not Bible. That was something that I kind of questioned 2 and 3 times, but I kind of felt like he himself was saying that he's still the leader of the church, and he was putting her in a position to actually speak. So, I don't know. Hey, lead attorney, how you doing? He says salute to Nathan and
Salute to the lead.
What's going on, Lee? So, JG, can you hear me?
Hey, happy holidays, everybody.
You too. So, listen, tell us what you're thinking.
This is an issue that's been going on in the Black community for many, many years. And I really believe that this stuff has been swept under the rug for a long time. And, there's a lot of church leaders that have been taking advantage, like he said, like Nathan said, of these young children, and it's not just men in the church, it's women in the church too doing it as well. And I've seen it up close and personal. There was a church I had to leave because there were men and women in the church grooming the kids, quote unquote. And my godmother came to visit the church. She said, "What's going on in this church?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Something's off up in here. You need to leave." And sure enough, when I left the church, the pastor was doing the same thing that Bishop Eddie Long was doing, the same stuff. And I sat back and I told my godmom, I said, "Mom, you were right. It was some stuff going on." And I think we have to start at home, and then it ends up at church, and then it affects the community. It's a trifecta effect. It's a trickle-down effect. And I think once we take care of home first, we can attack the issues in the church and we can attack the issues in the community. But it's got to start at home, because there's stuff going on at home too with the parents and adults, because you have many parents, they're cussing the kids out in the car before they get to the church, and they come inside the church smiling and hugging everybody. You see what I'm saying? "Oh, praise the Lord." "Oh, no, praise the Lord. You just cussed little Jimmy out in the car." So it starts with the parents at home to teach the boundaries. They need to be taught, and boundaries are not respected anymore. You could tell people, "Oh, I have boundaries," and they're looking like, "Oh, what's a boundary? You don't know what a boundary is? Really? Okay."
So listen, I don't know. I haven't done any numbers, haven't asked any questions, but I can imagine most of these young men are coming from single mothers who fathers are not in the home. So this goes back to what we're talking about. We always talk about the nuclear family and how important it is to have a husband that is a leader of the church, who's willing to minister, have that discipline and show that structure. Because I can almost imagine, I don't know for sure, this may not be 100%, of course, nothing ever is, that there wouldn't be a whole lot of grooming if there were some strong men popping up on Sunday afternoon. They would be afraid to manipulate a man's son into doing things that were inappropriate.
I agree.
Yep.
Dearly beloved.
Especially if they're talking about, you're my godson, I'm your father figure. They would be so afraid if these strong men would be there standing in that gap, be like, no, I'm a minister to my child, my son. He's going to follow me. I'm going to be his example. I'm going to do this. Then that would definitely cut back on a lot of this grooming that is going on. But the women are just looking for some help.
Yes. Yes.
And they're being manipulated by the pastor of the church or what have you. That is awful. But that is, that's the answer, y'all. The nuclear family is the answer, y'all. I need for y'all to marry these women. These ones you're having babies with. JG don't be out there having no babies. JG, did you sign up for I Choose You? This is totally off the subject.
I was waiting on you to ask me. No,
I was gonna ask, right?
I'm 39. I'm 39,
so what?
So I'm cool.
Stop playing. Stop playing. It took you 10.
You're gonna have me out here with these hyenas.
Wow. I know that's right.
JG, it took you 10 months to bake. Come on now. That's 40. Come on. And guess what? You don't know when you don't know when we having the show. I think you need to drop it. Guess what? I know your email address. I'm gonna drop you a line and tell you when to show up. So listen, thank you so much, JG. But listen, y'all, we have to continue to promote the nuclear family, marriage, strong men. They need to be in the household because this is ruining our men to be guess what? Exposed to sex, perversion at such an early age. They're learning it incorrectly. And this is confusing them, of course. And a lot of times I bet this leads to alternative lifestyles, which in that turn, they're very angry. Because like you said, when they're no longer of age or have aged out, now we're looking for another young man to be impressionable to, or woman. And now that's a trauma, because now the pastor don't want me, or the person I looked up to, or this major influence I had in my life, I'm not good enough anymore. You know how confusing that is, and it's all in the name of God.
Yes. Yes.
And you want me to follow God?
There you go.
And I didn't learn him for myself. I've been paying attention to this man, and so half of the things that he's been telling me or she's been telling me had some perversion underneath. So I already know, I should say some manipulation underneath. That was what you call it. The Jezebel spirit was underneath it, and it made no sense because I can't believe it. I can't take it anywhere. This is not true. Now what? Then you grow up to be an adult. Now you got to make decisions on your own, and you never got the counseling because some of this is never talked about. Not everybody is exposed. Not every child gets to come out and tell their story. They just carry it along with them.
Yep.
That's what happens to a lot of them.
Yep. Broken. And you said it perfectly, and this is where this church hurt comes from.
Absolutely.
And then what ends up happening, what's disappointing to me as a person who sees value in Christianity, sees value in the relationship with God, and seeing that people who've put themselves on these positions of authority, these self-appointed positions, they then abuse that position. I say it all the time, and this goes for anybody in positions of power, is that everybody's not meant to have it. Everybody's not only are they not deserving of it, but they can't handle it. They can't handle it. And power is such a very unique thing that no one teaches you how to use it when you do receive it. And oftentimes when a person is given, put in a position, or they're given the responsibility to wield it, they wield it unjustly, and they can't handle the things that come with it, the attention, the fame, the stardom, the popularity. And what tends to happen is people's ego gets in the way. And you know, me and you've talked about this before, the power of the ego with a lot of people that we see, especially here on YouTube. They can't handle it. And you know, it's one thing when God gives you a gift and there's an expectation that you're going to use the gift properly. But then when you because none of us are perfect.
Right.
But when you start to come under attack from the enemy, because the enemy notices that you have a very powerful gift and that gift can be used against him, well, then all he does is amplify your desires, amplify your sin. And if you fall to the temptation, he knows that the ripple effect is going to be so beneficial. So beneficial. It's kind of like how the feds work. The feds know you're guilty of a crime, but they'll watch you for 10 years and they allow you to keep digging yourself deeper and deeper and deeper into a hole. One could argue that the feds act just like Satan acts, right? He'll allow you to amass this fame, amass all this, start saturating yourself in the sin. You backstroking in the sin. You're having a good time. You went from backsliding to
creating your own hole.
you know, and doing your thing. And then, but he's waiting for you to amass so much fame, so much celebrity, so much stardom, to the point now he's coming to collect, right? He's coming to collect. And because when he collects, he's looking for a domino effect of lost souls being sliding around on their backs thanks to you. So it's almost like, you know, if this turns out to be true about TD Jakes, the ripple effect within the religion, within his church, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to walk away from God because of it.
That's what I think.
And that is the W for the devil. At the end of the day, he's going to win because he's connected so much, not just nationwide but internationally. So I remember what happened when Eddie Long did his thing and how many people were crushed behind it because they were not worshiping God, they were worshiping him. And they put their trust in him instead of putting their trust in God. And that's why people get church hurt. And it's just unfortunate that people don't really understand God for themselves and they fall victim to it every time.
So let me ask you a question. I hear exactly what you're saying. And I'm not waiting for someone to come with receipts for Bishop T.D. Jakes. But if we're in the church and we're going there, we're faith people and we are followers of Christ and we believe in God, it's not going to take an accuser or receipts for me to know that I'm wrong.
Right.
I already know that I'm wrong. They already know. So the fall away would be them, you know, that would be the shame of it all.
Right.
It's not going to be a fall away as in, oh, I don't believe in God anymore, because you already operating outside of God within the church anyway. You know that you are. You know it. And everybody around you knows it. And probably a lot of other people in the church know it. Everybody knows that we're not operating within the parameters of what God would have us operate in. They know it. So the falling away would be more so shame. And I don't know, you know, if there will be conviction or anything like that that's going on there, because these people know that they're wrong. What bothers me the most is when do we just come clean? You know, if I did anything false or out of order or anything of this nature, but not what they're saying, I would be up here spilling my guts. Let me tell you what I did on a Friday night. I didn't do that. I wasn't there. This is what I did do, though. I had no idea. I would be just telling everything I could possibly tell, because I just wouldn't want people to continue to create allegations that were not true. You get what I'm saying? Or put me in positions that I wasn't in. I would just come so clean that, you know what? It's this word that we say all the time. See, when you are accountable, when you're an accountable person, you have all the power.
Yep.
There's nothing no one can do to you. All they can do is say, well, you did this. I absolutely did. I told you that story. Yeah, I sure did. I told you all about it. Now what? Exactly. You did this too. Yeah, I sure did. I did that too. I was falling. I was in a very low place. I needed God. Now what?
There you
So
go.
that's the position we have to stay in as followers of Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
As people who seek God and his will. That's the position you stay in, is accountability. This is what I tell my ladies all the time. Listen, you don't have to worry about anybody if you be accountable for what you do. If you decided to lay down, get pregnant, or just lay down, be liberal or whatever, own it. I did it. Now what? I'm not doing that no more. Don't let somebody catch you laying down. You know what I'm saying? And then you pretending that ain't what you do. You own that stuff. You have a mindset change. Your mind changes. I no longer want to be this person. I'm accountable for what I do. And now I'm powerful. Some say it's being an adult, but it's a very powerful position for nobody to be able to accuse you of junk.
Exactly.
And you know, it's very powerful. So I'm hoping that everybody's listening, y'all. There's nothing wrong with being accountable, you know, because that junk comes out anyway. Anything you do in the dark, it creeps its way out. If it ain't showing in your fruit, your neighbor gonna tell it on you. So you might as well let it all out.
You know, what you said is 100% correct. I tell my nephews this. I tell kids and young adults that I mentor this, that life is full of mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. It's not about making mistakes. It's about repeating them, right? That's the issue. It's not about making mistakes. It's about repeating them. And at the end of the day, when we do these things and we talk about, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda, life could have been better if, the reality is that we have to be forward thinking.
Yes.
The past is always in your mind. The future is always in your hands. And that's how we have to start living. And I think so many of us, we marinate so much on the past. We marinate so much on our mistakes that it hinders us from moving forward. And again, it's not the mistakes you make, it's the mistakes you repeat. And that's what the moral of the story is all about. But when you keep your mouth shut and you don't say nothing and you walk up and down like you're holier than thou, oh, when the truth come out, it's going to hurt. It's going to
hurt. That's why I say get it. Listen, that's what I'm saying. That relationship, that accountability, that need to follow or be with God to be okay. You know, you gotta be on the top of the mountain shouting that out. You can't let nobody put something on you. Like my girl just said, T-Shaw just said, I ain't about to follow up on no lie either. I'm gonna be accountable. I'm telling you, guess what? All this stuff breeds knowledge and wisdom.
Yes.
This is what you have when you get some age on you guys. You have some wisdom, because wisdom is just a thing that says, you know, I'm not going to be this person again. I've learned from the last time I did it. That's not what you want. That's not what I want. So I'm doing it different. And knowledge is just the experience of life. Y'all know that. You gain knowledge with more things that you experience or know about or ask questions of. You have to do that in order to learn. You have to do that to know what you don't want.
There you go.
You know. And it, like you said, if we sit here spinning our wheels, pretending like we don't know what's up, you know, we just acting like we just so holy. I didn't do it. And then all these crazy thoughts are going to our heads, and then we acting up on them or whatever we're doing. How do you people think that it can escape that kind of stuff, though? That's what's bothering me. Did you really think that nobody would know about this? So that leads me to believe that they've been putting out a whole lot of money.
Well, speaking of that, and this happened today. For those who don't know, I'm real big friends with Storm Monroe on YouTube. Me and him are real close. Really, really amazing YouTuber. His great content. If you're into he does a lot of celebrity gossip. I've had a chance to collaborate with him a couple of times. Love his work. And he put out something about TD Jakes, and he's big on receipts. He's big on receipts. He had some really great stuff, and I was listening to it. And the next day, today he talks about how TD Jakes ministry, the Potter's House Power Pot, or whatever they call themselves, ended up striking his channel down because he was revealing some stuff. But he was playing a video and all that kind of stuff. You know, we over here, we just talking about it. But yeah, their team is going around striking channels. And there's another guy who was talking about what he said on his sermon. And TD Jakes made a statement. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Because when there's no guilt, the truth can't shame you, right? The truth can't shame you when you've already been honest. And so he made a statement and said that even if I did all these things, I could just I just ask for
I
forgiveness.
could just repent because the God I serve is bigger than this, and He would forgive me for it. Yeah, I did hear that. I did.
Who says that? This reminds me of when Eddie, and I got to use Eddie Long. This is a perfect comparison. I remember when all this stuff was going crazy, you guys, because they were like a cult. New Birth was like a cult. They would drive around. They had the flags hanging out their car. They worshiped that man. You couldn't tell them nothing. And I remember when all this stuff started going down with Eddie Long. And I mean, the man, I was like, this brother had the audacity to walk back in the church, walk right back on the pulpit. And I'll never forget, I remember sitting down watching the sermon because I wanted to know what he had to say. After all of this stuff hit the fan, this brother said, now, you know, they're going to throw a stone. We're going to throw 3 back. And I'm like, what the hell is that?
That is so scary. That's scary. It's like you
man, listen, not one time did he ever denounce or deny. Now, I knew the truth, but I'm just saying he told the people nothing. And they still cheered him on and honored him and praised him. And I said, this is not him. He's not the problem. The problem are the people. The people are the problem, security boss. The ignorance, the delusion.
My heart went out to his wife, because when I kept hearing all those stories about, because if I recall, and it's been a while, that he was really depressed about one of those relationships. I thought I heard, and I don't think she ever divorced him, did she?
No, let me tell you something. And this is a SB exclusive.
Look, why are you gonna hold me responsible for this? Go ahead. Listen, this is an SB exclusive, y'all. We're gonna have to take Mr. Jakes off the thumbnail and put something else on there because I don't want them striking this. This is an exclusive, y'all. So go ahead, Nathan.
The wife knew about it.
What you mean? What you mean knew about it? You mean knew about it? Knew about it? Or knew about it the whole time?
She was complicit. She knew about it. You know what the problem was with the Eddie Long situation? And this is what bothers me about this stuff, is that this was about maintaining the image, right? This is the same reason why you have the Clintons are still together after all he did.
Yeah.
This ain't about breaking it up. It's about power, it's about politics, it's about image, right? The reason why Kevin Hart's wife's not going to divorce him, right? This has nothing to do with love anymore. This has nothing to do with marriage. This is a business. You got to remember, New Birth was a brand. This was a business.
Wow.
They're making millions of dollars off the back of Black people.
This is so twisted. This is so twisted because I'm teaching and telling people that the Bible is an instructional manual. Our marriages are covenants, and we have people in marriages that will clearly tell you this ain't nothing but a business. And it doesn't work though. They will also tell you that they failed at it. There's been several ministers or pastors, that I've heard say that their business was ministry, service, of course, and it didn't work for their actual marriage.
No. Your job is to maintain the image because I'm Eddie Long, right? I'm this guy. I can't have this position without a wife, right? How many single pastors do you know out here? I was told that they frown upon pastors if they're not in the process of getting married, or not married, because it's not a good reflection. So again, there's this Christian thing now where it's all about the image. It has nothing to do with just the truth of the Bible and living true to what God is calling you to live. This has become a whole business. And to her point, again, the shame that she brings is a simple fact that you knew and you participated with this circus, right? And to the point where she's like, well, we don't even sleep in the same bed. Well, what is going on? What's going on? Your job is just to maintain the image. And
so she found out about it. She didn't marry into that. She found out about it.
I don't think she married into it. It never starts off that way, right?
Right. Oh God. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now I'm like, oh my goodness. So she knew, and she just, okay. Wow. Let's do these super chats. So let's take a break. This is a lot. Got my head twisted. 49 is red and gold. Thank you so much for your $5 super chat. We know that we originate with God, but the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. 1 John 5:19 and 20. Thank you so much for that. Clement, thank you so much for your $5 super chat. I would agree with you if you actually had fathers in the home. Most of these pastors and court systems that is doing everything to keep them out of the home. Clement, I hear what you're saying, but we got to fight. We got to figure out a way. Oh, I got a question for you, Nathan, soon if I'm done with this. Was this another one or this is another? Oh, thank you, Clement, for your $5 super chat. You think this news about Jakes is something? Wait until the Epstein files come out. I believe God is removing skeletons from everyone's closet. Us too. Listen, I've done came over here and told y'all all my skeletons, and if y'all find something on me, it's not true. But anyway,
dearly beloved,
49ers red and go again. You hear dearly beloved in the background. He said we've been together all our life. So look, it is what it is. Thank you again for your $5 super chat. We can ask for forgiveness and repent, but we cannot fool God. He is the reader of the hearts and more. Thank you so much. And you are so right. But you know what the first thing people say? God know my heart. Yeah, you desperately wicked.
Yeah. Remind them that.
Yeah.
Remind God that when you're looking at the gate.
All right. Listen, let me tell you something. Okay, so listen, I thought today, because this kind of brings me to this, is into what Clement just mentioned about the fathers not being in the homes for whatever reason. You know how they'll have a campaign, a president's wife will get behind something that's an epidemic in our community, in the United States, like, what is it, pain medicine, your brain on drugs. I used to actually believe that commercial with them frying eggs.
I actually like that commercial. Yeah.
I liked it, but I believed it. It kept me from doing drugs, really, honestly. Lie.
Got me. Yep.
I was like, if that can happen? Shoot, I used to be around here talking about, I just know if I tried one time, that'd be what happened to me. So it kept me. But my question is, do you think that there should be some type of campaign put into place to, one, stop single motherhood? I mean, can we pour money into that? Because I'm going to tell you why I'm thinking this.
Yes.
You know how I'm around here telling women all the time to preserve themselves. And what I mean by that is to remain a virgin or less time to get celibate. We all do things and we make mistakes, but it's not the end of the world. We all operate in dysfunction sometime in our life, but we don't have to live in dysfunction. So when I'm trying to get clean of all my dysfunction, God tells me I'm aligning myself with him. One thing, you're going to have to stop having sex because I can't talk to you. I can't deal with you when your mind is cloudy with all this DNA that's going on. So you got to get clear, so now I'm celibate, right? So why don't we teach that? I know people are, because ain't nobody going to do it. No, ain't nobody doing it because no one actually teaches what it actually does to us, to our bodies, to women. I mentioned to you about our value. If we got a campaign that put out so much about how sex is random and reckless and you don't have to be doing a commercial talking about you not detectable and all that stuff, and we put out all the, the negativity about it, or you know what I'm saying? Just push that. There's another option. You don't have to have sex. Why can't we do that and turn this situation around? Because, when crack became an epidemic, there's money. Then you got these pain meds, which was, I'm talking about the opiate, they put a whole bunch of money behind that, had all type of campaigns, but I've never seen a campaign that said, listen, let's stop having sex, but we did safe sex. But is there such a thing as safe sex? I know people think they can wrap it up and do all that, but I just don't know. I mean, 100% is what I'm going for.
The problem is a couple things. One, how should I put it? The biggest issue is that you have to, we got to look at what the root of the problem is, that there's a financial incentive.
I agree.
For there to be dysfunction and degeneracy is profitable in this country. And so because it's making more money for people to make these mistakes, you then now have to find a way to where you can fund a campaign that's going to combat the marketing that markets the sin that's causing the dysfunction in the first place. So here's the truth. The truth is feminism was a marketing campaign.
Yes.
And they marketed through TV shows, commercials, magazines, fashion. They marketed through models. They had a whole TV show dedicated to it. Sex and the City is one, right? They have Cosmopolitan, right? They have all these magazines that talked about, and we see it today. We have women that come on TV now, like Ebony K. Williams is a perfect example, who preach and talk about women doing what they want to do, living their best life, chasing and pursuing after selfish ambitions, ambitions that are contrary to family and building a nuclear family. She preaches freezing your eggs and doing this, and you don't need a man.
Right.
And so when you have women who are representing that voice of that lifestyle, instead of giving women the truth, how do you fight that? Yes, there needs to be funding into the marketing of telling women the truth, telling families the truth about the reality of their choices, about personal choices, but it needs to be a consistent effort. And the only way to fight a lot of these things that take place, you have to understand the weapons that are being used against you in the first place. You essentially have to recreate the same weapons that are being used on you and use those same weapons to actually reverse engineer the problem. So the same way they use media and social media to poison people, you need to use media and social media to educate people. And then you also have to cut the bleeding, right? So the issue is you got to put a tourniquet on these things.
Yeah.
And what I've seen here in this country, one of the biggest problems is we try to look at anything that we try to do to protect kids and young adults. It's then marketed as we're trying to take their freedom away and their freedom of choice, right? So protection is almost looked at as punishment.
Yeah.
That's how feminism sold itself, is that
protection for women.
Yeah, we're trying to protect women. And then it's like, no, we don't need protecting, we're this, we're this, we're that. And so there's this reverse psychology that took place that a lot of women bought into, and not realizing that the things that we're telling you is not to control you, but these things we told you were out of protecting you, not controlling. And so we have to switch that narrative and start re-educating, because the conditioning has gotten so pervasive that it's gonna require a lot of marketing and propaganda to fix the problem. It's bad. It's really, really bad.
It's very bad. But guess what? I don't want to only include the ladies. I think this is something for men, because the men are definitely missing out. They're having children and opportunities to be fathers that they're not even able to participate in. Some willingly, some are not. So it's the father is required, in my opinion. Whether it's in the home or not, I would prefer to see it in the home, of course. But these men need to know if they're making babies. Either we're going to make them and be with them or not make them, because I also, advocate for marriage. And if we could incentivize marriage, I would be down with that too. But it's almost like the world, the United States, this appreciates dysfunction, and we make a lot of money off that. Now, I'm not saying it's just our community, because I don't know that to all be true. But I do know our community participates in this dysfunction a large percent. It's a large percent that is contributed to us. But I'm just saying, to have a better life, to have better outcomes, because again, we just outlined where church is not even a safe place to go anymore, where that used to be where we could go to be safe. And now we have men and women that are taking our children, and the perversion, they're opening their eyes or opening up the eye gates to sex in their mind. So they're being sexually perverted. So by the time they get 15, some of the young men or girls, we're pregnant, and then what? And if a woman can't handle it, if a single woman can't handle it, then what? Or if the family's not there, then what? Then we continue on with this cycle. And all we're doing is continually putting a Band-Aid on it. Well, let me give you another day after pill, or let me give you another condom that feels better, or, and that's not helping. I'm a solution-based type person, so I'm always looking for some solutions to put out there. I know that probably nobody will get behind it because we tend to want to live, like you say, how we want to live with not many parameters. So I get it. But before you say something, let me read the super chat.
Oh,
Successful MD, thank you so much for being here and also for your $5 super chat. SB, it comes down to personal choices. Absolutely. People are quick to blame the government and Anglos for all things negative. We get credit for the success. You're exactly right. But listen to this. I am in total agreement with you on that. And I'm also agreeing with accountability. But this is what I want to tell you about your personal choice. If I knew that women and men, young women and men were given a total, the total picture, I would be with you 100, 1000%. But I actually think that our young people, in myself included, when I was a young person, I was not told or taught the entire picture. I was told not to have sex, but I was never told what sex could do to me. You know, I think if someone would have told me how sex affected me, I would have wanted to never partake in it until I met my husband, because I would have felt unprotected until I met my husband. But I was only told to stay away from it. No one told me why. No one told me about how DNA was transferred, what God had for my life, my purpose for my life, what I was supposed to be doing. No one ever said that. Of course, I went to church, but no one ever, that message wasn't all over the TV. It wasn't all over the news. You know, there was no equality. There was no, you know what I'm saying? There was no message that said, ladies, sex is not good for you. I've always heard sex felt good, but is it good for you?
Yeah.
You know, you have to dive into church and that relationship with God to understand that sex is not good for you outside of marriage. You have to dive in. He even tells the men. So I don't know why we fuss with people, or we would make a decision why a man need to be married to be a pastor, because it actually says God would prefer the man to give him, the pastors, to concentrate on him and not have the distraction of a family or wife. But if you must, you know, I'd rather you have that instead of burn. So a pastor being single could be a good thing. But then you question, like, well, what is he doing? You know, you have to do, well, what is he doing?
Ain't stopping from running through the church.
Exactly.
Anyway.
And all these women in the church. So listen, Clement Gray, thank you so much for your $10 super chat. He says, ever notice what's the population of people in church, mainly women with kids, no husbands, pastors a lot of pander to the feelings of women to keep them coming. Men see the game and ain't having it. But let me tell you something, Clement. I don't know whose platform I was on. Was it yours, Nathan? Did you do that? But did you do that where the pastor, one young woman got up and said to the pastor, most of the women in the church are single, but there's only a few single men in the church and something like that. And then he says, hold on for a minute. Can you come up here? And then he asked for all the single men in the overflow and in the sanctuary to come up. And it was over 100 men in there. Single.
Oh, wow.
He proved her wrong. He says, you know, I don't know the message he had for her, but what I'm telling you is she needs to align herself with being a wife so she can be chosen.
Ooh.
That's what needed to happen. But it's hard to tell a woman you ain't ready.
It's hard. They don't listen, SB. They don't listen.
It's hard to tell a woman you ain't ready. But it was over 100 men, single men. And then guess what the women started to do when the pastor pointed it out? Well, I would like to know their ages. What? What you mean? There's a single. Guess what? I don't care what their ages was. If that woman was 40, she was single at 30 also.
Dearly beloved.
So she missed an opportunity.
She missed an opportunity.
You get what I'm saying? Man. I mean, this always looking for an excuse. If the woman was single that day, there was a time before that she was single too. So it didn't matter what the ages were of the men that were single. There were single men in there that looking for wives because they came up.
Lord,
you get what I'm saying? It was over 100 of them. The men were everywhere. I was like, oh my God. Oh, I was like impressed myself. I was like, it's a bunch of men in that church. And she was just sitting up there looking. One of the women that were on the platform was like, well, I would just want to know what the ages are of these men. And then another one, guess what another one said? She said, well, yeah, there's a lot of men there, but you know, most of them gay.
Ooh, that, yeah.
Oh, that was Black Man. Black Man, shout out to you, that was on Black Man Unfiltered's channel. Most of them gay. No, it wouldn't. It wasn't Black Man. It was, Red lipstick vibes. Shout out to you. That was an outstanding video that day. I couldn't believe it. Men was everywhere in this church, standing up, single. And the women was still, I would want to know their ages. Guess what? You was single 10 years ago. You still missed it.
Women have a very unique skill where
wait a minute, hold on for a minute. Wait a minute. Save that because I got to read this. Anissa says, now that does not mean those men were husbands, does it? The question she said to the pastor was, we're single women that could possibly not be wives, and we're looking for single men, but there's no single men in the church. And that's what we've been telling ourselves for the last 10 years, that there are no single men in the church. Clement just said it too. I don't care if they was ready to be husbands or not. He brought her single men. He brought that single woman, a whole bunch of single men, whether either party was ready or not. They stood up. So it's up for us as individuals, women and men, to become wives, to align ourselves with God, to be what God wants us to be. I can't, they may not ever be if they stay single, but guess what? They were there, they were single. And guess what? They knew what they were there for. They knew that this woman was saying that she was looking for a husband. So all of them, I'm considering, wanted to be married.